Florida is saying that it's going to end the vaccine mandates for children to enter school, both public and private. This is dangerous because the reason why we don't have rubella, smallpox, things of that nature, is because of the vaccines that people take and that it's mandatory. And as a result, guess what happens? We don't have people living the rest of their lives in iron lungs because their lungs no longer function without having something helping them breathe for them. We're having this problem with, like, Texas, for example, when it started reducing vaccine issues for parents, that you had the smallpox outbreak and children died. These are realities that we're running into. But when I look at Florida and I ask why this is being done by their governor, I think it's because Florida has a systemic problem that it is experiencing in real estate that go far beyond just simply an affordability issue of the price of real estate. And it has to do with issues that are environmental and structural. So, and as a result of these problems, what Florida needs are people who will stay inside of Florida for political and ideological reasons, and not just because of real estate or buy real estate in areas where it is not like a financially smart decision. So let's deal with them. First of all, Florida, as far as its coastline, is probably the largest coastal lined area of the United States to interact with tropical storms and hurricanes, because it kind of dangles out there into the Gulf of Mexico and a part of the Atlantic where tropical storms hit as the season shows up. So it has a high likelihood of being hit every single year by one or more hurricanes and tropical storms and that sort of thing. And these hurricanes and tropical storms can cost billions of dollars worth of damage. And this has been the same, and these hurricanes and these tropical storms have been becoming more frequent and more stronger. As a result of that, this year it seems to be fairly calm, which is kind of unique. But that doesn't preclude the fact that insurers saw that. And what insurers did is they saw this reality that, and of course, most of Florida is not sitting on top of like granite and stones. They're on top of flimsy material that was basically wetlands and swamps that were plowed over and put cities on top of them, or they were not like solid structures in a lot of different places. And as a result, some of these cities are sitting on top of soaked ground that runs the risk of buildings collapsing. Florida has had to deal with this by developing rigid demands that buildings have to pass inspections for collapse, because of the ground that they are sitting on is flimsy, and then it doesn't really matter what your foundation is, because your foundation is going to crack because the ground that the foundation needs to sit on is not firm. And thus you have the potential of collapses. This happened with high rises. This happens with cities and towns. This is why you have like much higher HOA fees, and these HOA fees becoming hundreds of dollars a month. Instead of tens, it's now hundreds. And can sometimes equal like rent. on top of your mortgage payment. Then what you have is you have this other aspect that comes in, and that is insurance. Insurance companies keep seeing multi-billion-dollar storms hitting Florida every single year. And as a result, they're nervous because they know some certain realities. You can't necessarily build a house to stand up to a hurricane, because one of the things that the hurricane does is it doesn't just blow your house down or blow the roof off. It blows other things into your house. It blows cars into people's houses, billboards, other things into houses, and causes significant injury and damage. They realize that this is reality, so they pull out. So what Florida did is it has this insurance system that is run by the state. It's like the insurer of last resort. But since all these insurance companies have fled Florida, that state-run insurance policy against hurricanes is becoming a major or primary insurance carrier for the state. And the state must cover these policies, and if damages from hurricanes exceed that value that is sitting inside of that policy, that is sitting inside of that insurance that the state itself is paying for, then that's going to cause property taxes to increase. And property taxes already in Florida are significant. In fact, right now, insurance costs for hurricanes can be thousands. It can be like $5,000-$7,000 a year, on top of the HOA fees and property taxes, and having to constantly have your property being inspected as to whether or not it's going to be able to potentially sustain itself from the hurricane and the softening of the soil that your house is sitting on. These are real problems that Florida possesses. As a matter of fact, in recent periods where hurricanes got close to the coast of Florida, it literally stopped thousands of transactions inside of Florida from taking place that were along the Atlantic coast. Those deals shut down because insurers were saying, listen, we want to make certain, we know that a hurricane coming in bankrupts us. So they stopped those policies because banks are not going to open lending, are not going to guarantee financing unless there is proof of insurance. And if you don't have it, they're done, because the reason why they want the proof of insurance is because also banks are beginning to realize that the insurance run by the state itself is running the risk of insolvency. Or can it really take a major hurricane? So these are the problems that are happening. And so what Florida needs to do, and what the Florida governor needs to do, is create other reasons to be inside of Florida that ignores that reality. That no one's buying inside of Florida because of the risk of the hurricanes, the damaging of the soil, and all of these other costs that when you buy your house, that can come pretty damn close to the cost of your mortgage. It can be $1,000, $2,000 a month simply to have the privilege of owning your property. And that's because of geographical and environmental reality of where Florida is. So now maybe he's thinking, hey, I can get the anti-vaxxers to move into the state because we will be the anti-vax state, and anti-vaxxers and anti-vax supporters will flock to Florida. And that's how we're going to get visitors, because people are flying out of Florida. The other big problems that are happening in Florida are tourists are not coming to Florida, and they're not coming to Florida because ICE in Florida has attacked people who were tourists. And so they're saying, no, I'm not coming there. On top of the political issue of like the tariffs and everything. So it's between ICE and the tariffs that has people not coming to Florida. And Florida is seeing that. So these businesses that would rely on like Miami tourism no longer are on the verge of, shutting up shop because the Canadian and European tourists they used to rely on are not showing up. And then you go beyond even that with the fact that the immigration policies of the United States right now try to take away the immigration status of Venezuelans. Well, Venezuelans mainly live in Florida. A lot of those Venezuelans live in Florida. And they know that Florida's not going to protect them from ICE or even attempt to. And so buildings are not being built. Crops are not being picked. And the risk also is when the hurricanes come and properties are damaged, not about because you have your house built to withstand wind and withstand a hurricane. It's that the hurricane is going to pick stuff up and throw it all over the place, like into your house and damage your house. Will there be people who will repair the house? How many of those people are migrants? And if migrants are not doing that work because they don't want to be deported while they're fixing your home from the hurricane, then your home doesn't get fixed until, white boys come and do the repairs. I mean, maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't, but it really hasn't happened with regard to picking. So these are the problems that are in Florida. And so what this anti-vax position of Florida may in fact be is it simply trying to be the anti-vax state so that it can attract anti-vaxxers to its state as to replace all the people that are fleeing because the tourism industry is dead, because migrants who used to make up large portions of Florida's population are under jeopardy from being deported. And of course, the rising costs of simply owning property in Florida. The only people who will be able to own property in Florida are billionaires who really, so I'm paying, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for the privilege of living in Florida for the times that I'm in Florida. Who really gives a damn? I'm a multi-billionaire. Thousands of dollars a month doesn't mean anything to me. So that's kind of where we are at. That's where Florida is. And if we want to avoid that from being the case, then we need wiser policies to develop the type of housing systems and financing systems and structural systems to reduce the cost of living in the United States. Because Florida is about to become a living example, if and when a hurricane slams into Florida, of what is to come. Like, share, subscribe. Please debate with me. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I wrong about Florida's market and the structural problems of the Florida housing market because of the environment? Am I right? Am I wrong? Please debate me. Please, let's talk. And like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.